It's clear President Trump does not like former FBI Director James Comey, but the Justice Department says that's not why Comey was indicted. In September, Comey was indicted by a federal grand jury just across the Potomac in the Eastern District of Virginia, and the charges include making false statements to Congress and obstruction of a congressional proceeding. The charges involve Comey's testimony in 2020 about the Trump-Russia hoax. Last month, Comey pleaded not guilty. He's also asked the federal judge to dismiss the indictment. Comey says the indictment is vindictive and amounts to improper selective prosecution. Yesterday, the Justice Department, in a 40-page filing, responded to that and, of course, opposes Comey's request to dismiss the indictment. The prosecution says, quote, his evidence, a mix of news reports, social media reports, and speculation, is hardly evidence at all. It certainly is not direct evidence of a vindictive motive. The DOJ also says, quote, the defendant's extraordinary conduct and the level of public trust he betrayed by lying to Congress about his official actions are manifestly the reasons for his prosecution, end quote. Ohio Republican Chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, Congressman Jim Jordan, joins me. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Greta. Good to be with you.
Nice day. What do you make of seizing the president's personal phone?
Well, this is Jack Smith. I mean, we shouldn't be surprised. The Arctic Frost investigation was then merged with Jack Smith's special counsel investigation. And they did all kinds of things. They put a gag order on President Trump. They raided his home. They took the phone of a sitting member of Congress, Scott Perry, after surveilling him, spying on him for a week. They wanted to know who he associated with, who he hung out with, what were his patterns. I mean, and then, of course, we've deposed two of Jack Smith's lieutenants, Mr. Bratt and Mr. Wyndham. They took the fifth 71 and 73 times, respectively, took the fifth to questions like, was this political? Were you going after President Trump to harm him in a political way? How many other people, in addition to the multiple United States senators you got the phone records on, how many other members of Congress or other individuals in the White House were you getting information on? We take the fifth. Now we're starting to get all that information, including the fact, as you point out, they took President Trump's phone. So this is just how Jack Smith operated.
How come we're just learning this now?
Well, because we didn't get this information from Mr. Garland and Mr. Wray, because we have an attorney general, we have a Justice Department, we have an FBI director who are actually focused on getting information to the people and doing their jobs in an appropriate way, not being political, even though they're being accused of that by the left and by the Democrats. We got people who are actually doing the right thing at the Justice Department. And of course, we had a whistleblower come forward to Senator Grassley and give us some of this information as well.
All right, an order has come out. The judge in the Comey case has now ordered prosecutors to hand over full transcripts of grand jury presentation. So it sounds like Comey is getting some traction because he wants to know everything that the U.S. attorney, acting U.S. attorney, said in the grand jury before she got the grand jury vote.
Yeah, that's good. Look, I think there are several people who were focused on politics, who were focused on going after President Trump. We talked about it last week, I believe, but a few weeks ago, we sent a criminal referral for Mr. Brennan because we believe Mr. Brennan lied to us while he was under oath, which you're not supposed to do. He said he wasn't involved with the dossier, didn't want it included in the intelligence community assessment. Well, then Tulsi Gabbard declassifies and releases a report from the House Intel Committee from several years ago that says just the opposite, that he did in fact want it included in the ICA. And they relate a story in there where a CIA official comes up to Mr. Brennan and says, we shouldn't include this. There's no underlying intelligence to support the dossier being in this report. We shouldn't do it. And Brennan's response was, yeah, but doesn't it ring true? Showing his motive, displaying fully, I think, that he was out to get the president. And so it was Brennan, it was Clapper, it was Comey, and of course it was Jack Smith in the next administration doing the same kind of thing. So that's what's going on here, and we got to get the facts, and where appropriate, where it's warranted, I think there needs to be prosecutions, like with Mr. Comey and like with the referral we sent. We don't send many of these. You know, we don't send, the facts have to be there, and they were there on Mr. Brennan, and that's why we sent it to Attorney General Bondi.
Comey's indictment involved whether he was asked whether it authorized anyone at FBI to be an anonymous source in news reports. And one of the key people involved is a guy named Daniel C. Richman, who was at Columbia University. But before that, he was a special government employee. What was he doing for the government?
No, I think he was brought in specifically for that, to launder information to the media, to be the conduit for, in some cases, maybe even classified information that was leaked to the media. That's why he was brought in. He had these relationships, and Comey talked about it. And remember, Comey's the guy who did the memos, the Comey memos that got out in the press. Comey's the guy who went up to Trump Tower on January 6, 2017, briefing President-elect Trump about the dossier, giving him his intelligence community briefing. President Trump thinks this is the normal briefing you get as the new incoming president, when in fact it's a setup, because what Comey does is he talks to him about the dossier that he knows is false, and then goes out and leaks that to the press, and thereby giving it credibility and starting this whole this predicate for getting the Mueller special counsel investigation and trying to undermine his entire first term. So I think Comey's been up to this stuff, up to his neck in this stuff. And of course, Richman was hired to be a conduit for all that.
So here's how I would investigate it. Because if Richman leaked it, that wouldn't be good, because this is information that's maybe some of it's classified, I don't know, so he's in hot water. And so since the Justice Department, whether it's the last administration or this one, seems to be in the business of seizing phones, I would seize the personal phone of Richman pursuant to a warrant and look to see who he called. And if he's got a lot of calls to a lot of the media that look inappropriate, I put him in the hot seat. You know, did you do this by yourself, or did you get any information from anyone else, from your pal, FBI Director Comey? That's how I would investigate it, and I'd sort of start on the outside and work my way in.
Great point. Great point. And maybe the Justice Department will. You know, we'll see. What right now, Comey's been, I think, charged with lying to Congress, what he said under oath when he was being questioned by Senator Cruz. We'll see how far this goes, or if it goes further, or what else is involved. What we do know is the stuff that's starting to come out that seems to corroborate all the other information that we have.
Well, yeah, but I mean that's for your authority as on the Hill. But this criminal investigation, the way that I would investigate is how I said it. Is that, I mean, Richman would be my key witness. I want to know what did you do? What was your job? Did you ever contact the media? Here's a warrant. I need your phone. We're going to go look back at your phone records. And
maybe U.S. Attorney Halligan is doing just that. We don't know. Maybe they are. We just don't know how that investigation is proceeding. What we do know is it's proceeding.
How do we know this? How does this all stop? I mean, it's going to be the next administration. If the Democrats take over the House in the midterms, you can expect that there are going to be a lot of oversight hearings about the Trump White House. I mean, how do we sort of put the lid on this again and try to get back to the business of keeping the government open and doing the work for the people?
I think you just stick to the truth. I mean, that's what I try to do. Highlight the truth. Like I said, we don't do many of these referrals unless it's truly warranted. We felt it was with Mr. Brennan. That's why we did it. But we have a constitutional duty to do oversight in the legislative branch, do oversight of the executive branch. We do it. We should get the facts out to the people. When appropriate, we should introduce and try to pass legislation to help stop that. But hopefully, just by exposing it and holding people who truly did wrong, holding them accountable, it stops. That's what I want. I think that's what the country wants. And then, as you rightly point out, getting back to doing what Congress typically is supposed to do, passing budgets, debating on what level of spending is, looking at policy, having policy debates, passing legislation, versus all this trying to, deal with the oversight and the ramifications of all that. So hopefully that happens. It'd be nice, though, if the Democrats would actually open the government and vote for a level of spending that they supported just 6 months ago. That to me seems to be pretty common sense. Even John Fetterman, last time I checked, a Democrat, said the same thing.
Chairman Jim Jordan, thank you, sir.
You bet. Thank you.